Welcome to Google Ads Unleashed, the podcast that helps you harness the power of Google Ads. And now your host, Jeremy Young.
Hello guys, and welcome back to Google Ads Unleashed. Hope everyone is doing fine this fabulous Monday. And today I want to be talking about one of the projects I've been most proud of in the last month or so. And that is a client who came to us with a relatively straightforward challenge, to be honest. There wasn't like a crazy difficult business model or ad account or something like that. But I wanted to really share this with you because it kind of shows why it's really important to track the right things and why it's important to be creative in Google Ads sometimes as well. Let's dive right in. So the client came to us. They are a retailer of pre-owned office furniture. So think of, let's say an office closes down. They find a place that then closes down. They buy up all the furniture. They basically refurbish the whole thing and then sell it off again. Very often it's office furniture that is branded, like a very specific brand is what they're very well known for. And they are then selling them, of course, a lot cheaper than you would if you were to purchase it new. So, cool business model. They're doing really well. They were doing about 300K a month and it's basically just running Google Ads up until that point. Now, of course, they're running Meta Ads a little bit as well. But the challenge was relatively clear. First of all, overarching actual tracking and judging success was an issue with this business. Okay, so the first thing that we're still in the talks of doing it, is getting a business intelligence tool, something like Admetrics, something like Triple Whale or anything in point. With just Google Ads running, this wasn't actually that important because interestingly, attribution is pretty accurate when you only have one channel running because there's no real overlap or interference. What do I mean by that? You don't get like sort of inflated numbers as you would. Let's say you run Meta, someone clicks a Meta ad, then a week later someone searches on Google, clicks a Google ad, then both channels claim the conversion, right? That doesn't exist if you just run Meta or if you just run Google, right? It gets complicated when you have multi-channel mix, okay? Anyway, that is the first thing that we're working on with them right now, just to get a better understanding of their overall business numbers. But now comes actually the interesting part. We switched straight away to profit metrics because basically there was one challenge. Every order is different. Not only do they, so there's a few complicating factors here. Not only, of course, every order is different in terms of, for instance, what someone buys in terms of how many tables or how many chairs or something like that. But of course, depending on how much they could buy it for and how much it costs to refurbish, the cost of goods are different every time. What kind of ROAS target do you set then? It is absolutely impossible to set the correct ROAS target then for this kind of business because what are you going to do, right? Like, are you going to go for 3 ROAS? Does that even mean anything? Well, no, it doesn't really mean anything, right? So we implemented profit metrics. So that was the first thing because it solves several things at the same time. First of all, of course, the cost of goods thing, that the fact that that's different almost with every order, right? And of course, POAS and profit bidding is just much better in this case because it gives at least some sort of equalizing factor that Google can actually consistently bid on some sort of return on ad spend. So we set up profit metrics, and that has already worked really, really well. But more importantly, what is actually super interesting with this client is that they get a lot of B2B orders. So this almost borders on the lead gen, okay? So we've worked with this client now to implement Close as their CRM. So first of all, we've implemented a CRM system so that we can use offline conversion tracking so that if they get an inquiry and it moves through the stages of the deal and then the deal gets closed, well, we can fire that conversion back into Google Ads then as a conversion, as an offline conversion using something like Make or Zapier. So we've helped them implement that and implement that button on the product pages as well, so that people can make B2B inquiries, okay? But what's even more interesting is that, of course, we would just send the full order volume, the total gross turnover, as a conversion value back into Google Ads. We don't really want that. So we worked with a tracking specialist to implement a specialty here that before the conversion gets sent back into Google Ads, what we're doing is essentially what Profit Metrics does, right? So Profit Metrics, of course, subtracts the cost of goods, the transaction costs, the shipping costs, all those costs before it sends the conversion back to Google Ads, and that's amazing. But we want to be doing the same with B2B orders, which make a significant chunk of the volume of not only in total numbers and total orders, but in order volume, as in they tend to be AOV, sometimes 5 figures, right? Very often 5 figures even. Basically, we're going to do the same thing as Profit Metrics in that we send a webhook to Shopify so that we can retrieve the order and the cost of goods and all the other costs involved with the order, and then send the B2B profit data back into Google Ads. So that way we can optimize properly towards profit. By the way, I'm still at conversion tracking here, right? We've not even crossed into the other domains. So super cool. That was one of the first things that we've done. We've also implemented 2 further conversion actions, actually 3 further conversion actions. First of all, calls for if someone actually phones up. So we don't have a call tracking software here. We just use Google's own phone call snippets, which you can very easily inject into the website, and it changes the phone number depending on, well, of course, from which ad this person came, so that we can actually attribute phone calls to our Google Ads campaigns as well as a kind of soft touch point, as a soft conversion, but it still helps. And of course, they run search campaigns as well for wanting to buy office furniture, right? So we've implemented a phone call conversion for that as well, because that is where a lot of people make inquiries. Plus, we're also implementing close, or a funnel in close, for inquiries to a normal inquiry form. Okay, so we went from one conversion action that tracked turnover to a conversion action that first tracked profit if someone directly checks out. Then we capture the G-CLID if someone leaves an inquiry and wants to have a B2B order, which is of course a longer process. We go then through close, and if someone is put onto deal closed, we retrieve the profit data from Shopify and send that back into Google Ads. The third thing is a phone call conversion action if someone rings in to wanted to buy something. The fourth conversion action is if someone wants to sell something and phones in. The fifth is then another close funnel where we determine for the campaigns that are where people want to sell the products to us. So that's the first thing, and it's been a real game changer, right? So in the last 30 days, we've pretty much spent the same amount of money, but we have forced the algorithm to, of course, go for more profitable sales. So that's been really good. And generally, the server-side tracking, of course, has paid off, right? Because we wanted to implement that as well. And we simply had more sales off the bat by just be having a better setup. Sorry, the last 30 days versus previous. So we've spent 25,000. That is exactly the same amount, and we have generated 64 more sales through that, which is absolutely insane. So we went from 57 tracked sales to 121 tracked sales. So real success here. Super happy with that. and we already had conversions on the inquiry, the phone call B2B inquiry, which is amazing. So that works clearly. Sorry, I'm just looking at that because the phone call thing only went live last week. But yeah, really, really good. And we're getting the algorithm to focus on better stuff here. Now, the second thing that we've done is implemented then audiences. So first of all, I just maybe one final sentence on the tracking is that you just really want to know, you want to look at the business, what is the challenge you want to solve, and then you always want to track intelligently what needs to be tracked and what is a valuable conversion to Google Ads, and then send it the data that it needs in order to understand what is going on. Okay. So yeah, that's basically that. The second thing then that we've done is we implemented a couple of audiences. Okay, we basically sent Google 3 audiences. First of all, add to carts, or people who abandon the checkout, right? That's just a very good audience to keep nurturing people who've already made a decision to purchase. And PMax is pretty good at going after these hot audiences in retargeting. Right. The second that we've done is we've uploaded all customers to Google Ads to just give, of course, Google like an all customers list. And then we've also implemented all B2B customers as well, and told Google that this is a highly qualified or high value customer list. So that really straightforward little thing, but basically we're just teaching Google what's a normal customer and what's a high value customer, B2B. That's the kind of ones we want more, of course, right? So of course Google will try and focus and spend on those kinds of people more, which is really cool. Then the third thing that we've done is we have implemented basically a fully automated way of improving the feed. So it's not a secret that as an agency we work with Product Hero a lot. We've done quite a few sort of webinars with the guys and some sort of some collaborations with the guys. They're really cool, but their features are amazing as well. So this client didn't really have a properly optimized feed, nor were they having a CSS. They didn't really take advantage of anything in Merchant Center. So first of all, we cleaned up the entire Merchant Center, right? Popped in logos, put in returns policy, polished up on the shipping policy, added all of the signals that they want, improved the listings with more images, everything that Google wants to make us rank better. But then we also implemented the Product Hero CSS so that we get click costs reduced, which in Europe you can, right? So you get the click cost reduction, which is really cool. But more importantly, with this feed, what was annoying is that the products change all the time, right? So you have to rewrite product titles pretty often because they put new products online pretty much every week. So we needed rules. So we've implemented Data Feed Watch first, which is a software through which you can basically very easily set up rules. So stuff like, hey, if in the title is the word table, then this is a table, right? As Google product category, etc., etc. So that way you can fully automate the feed, and regardless of whether a new product comes in or a new product goes out, the rules are applied instantly and the feed is optimized off the bat, right? So that's working really well. But we're using then, of course, Product Hero's own product title optimization AI. Because before that, they didn't even have something like pre-owned furniture in the product titles, right? So we're using that, which generates a subfeed for us, which we can implement in Merchant Center and overwrites all of the product titles automatically. And with a few clicks of the button, even new products are optimized instantly and added to the feed, which is really, really cool. And has saved us a lot of time, but also is just much more efficient. So I think the takeaway here was full feed and Merchant Center optimization. But given that they had this unique challenge of, hey, we don't have a set list of products the way you optimize the feed once and it's done, what you have to do is we had to create some levels of automation in order to get the products in and have them all optimized straight away so that we could reduce the manual work, but also it's just more efficient and works well. And we have generated 73.8% more clicks in the last 28 days versus the previous period just by doing this, and is honestly amazing. It's worked so well. It's basically just doing the fundamentals right, so which is cool. And then lastly, we optimized all of the campaigns. So at the beginning, they just had one PMax with his better margin products. He had a search campaign, and he had basically just a few other campaigns that were sort of just targeting keywords for, wanting to purchase certain items. Okay, so we went through those, all search campaigns in Austria, in Germany, Liechtenstein, France, Italy, and specifically like a local campaign as well. And we just optimized them because there were no negative keywords. It was all on broad match, like, the usual sort of stuff, and aligned all of the settings there. At the moment, it's all set to max conversions because, to be honest, we've not implemented that conversion action just yet, where we've done the telephone number this week, but the close funnel, that's the one that's still coming. With the other stuff, we actually overhauled his brand campaign. Unfortunately, we had to keep brand. The reason is we're quite low in volume, and he's only just started with Meta and has a lot of competitors bidding on him. So that is running on manual CPC and just doing its thing, right? It's done really well. We've already been able to reduce costs by 20% doing that month on month as well, which is really good. But we're also bidding on competitors. That's a search campaign we also set up. We also set up a DSA campaign, which has done ridiculously well so far, which I'm very happy with. But I think the biggest sort of takeaway was to get a proper brand and non-brand split on PMax and shopping, and just tidy up those campaigns to a level that they should do what they should do. Also, what has been really, really cool and interesting, and which has worked really well, is to run another shopping campaign parallel on max clicks and not with a POAS target. And that has actually generated a POAS of 7. So for every pound we're putting in, we're getting £6 back at the moment, which is absolutely insane. Yeah, so pretty much that is where we are right now. So in total turnover, the last 30 days so we started on the 14th of July with this client, and is now, at the time of speaking, the 17th of August. In the last 30 days, we have increased our orders by only by a couple, right? Interestingly, so it's only been 3% more orders. However, total sales, so sale value, has increased by 50%. So last 30 days was 518,000 euros, and plus 50%, what is that? 260,000. So we've gone from 260,000 to 518,000 euros. And that's unbelievable. It's really cool. Really happy with this. Of course, what has helped here were two things: that Meta Ads has started as well, so that of course does something to that as well. But more importantly, what has been really valuable and helpful is a very strong average order value increase, which has come from promoting more B2B orders, right? Which their team has done really well, and just really honing down the algorithm to exactly what it's supposed to do: bring in profitable orders, not orders for any price, if that makes sense. Ongoing, what are we doing with this client? Well, we expand into Austria, so that's one thing that is going to help this client in terms of volume. We're going to likely expand to Switzerland at some point as well, when we sorted out shipping and VAT and all that crap. I think one of the biggest wins is we also implemented an app called A/B Convert off the bat, because we found their product pages to be a little weak, and it's only been running for a few weeks now. But with the suggestions, our CRO suggestions, we've actually been able to increase conversion rate quite dramatically already on the product pages. And so far, this has been running since the 19th of July. So this is something that we off the bat recommended to them to improve. Actually, I was wrong, by the way. It wasn't 260,000. It was 50% plus, right? So it would have been like 300 and 60,000 or something like that, and then another 180k on top. So we made him 180k more basically. Yeah, so sorry about that. I just wanted to correct myself. And our test has a p-value of 0.01, so it's statistically very significant. And has brought a 38% increase in conversion rate from 0.67 to 0.93. So this has been very successful, and a test that we actually add into all of our product pages, and of course making more money with the exact same stuff. So yeah, guys, basics, right? Basics is what it's all about. And if you want to learn more about this, then our books are open again from September onwards for the one-to-one coachings. So if you're an e-commerce business owner who wants to master Google Ads and get to grips with it, please do reach out. It's Jeremy at younganddigital.marketing, or you can find me on LinkedIn with Jeremy and Google Ads. But of course, our doors are open for the Q4 season as well. You want to probably get on there ASAP. September and October is promising to be very busy, and we would love to have you on board if you need help, especially if you want to do creative and cool shit like we do. That was it. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Jeremy Young, and I wish you a happy and productive week ahead.
Thank you for listening to Google Ads Unleashed. To connect with Jeremy, check him out online at www.younganddigital.marketing. We'll see you next time.